Hello everybody, welcome to the channel. Big hello to all the new subscribers. Got another motor here set up in the tank. Owner brought it in, said he thinks it's 17 years old and never been serviced ever. He said it's always run good. Hasn't had a water pump put in it since new, but it still pumps water just fine. But I'm going to be putting a new one in it, along with new plugs and change the lower unit oil, put a new impeller in it. But he also says it runs fine, he says, but won't idle. So we're just going to go through the whole engine here and make it like it's supposed to be, get everything all re-lubed up. Wonderful motor. Show you what it is here. Tiller handle, electric start, all original. Good one. Good motor. So let's give her a look. There she be. Get you over here where you can see that. There. tat2. tat2. Gesundheit. Here it is. The first thing I did was test the starter motor. I just ran 12 volts directly to the hot wire and the ground post. Starter motor spun over fine. I'd push the starter button and all I'd get is the solenoid clicking. Cleaned up the wires, tightened the nuts on everything, and voila. Now the starter's back. So, but it's got full start too. But. You can hear it there. Bob. So let me get this carburetor off here and see what she looks inside, and I'll probably look at the fuel pump diaphragms as well. So be right back. Okay, I got the silencer off and I'm going to give it a quick start with the fuel pump hose unhooked, and let's see what that fuel pump's doing. And so you can watch right there at the end of the hose. I figured there'd be enough in the bowl to at least fire it. Okay, now. I'd say the fuel pump is working just fine. So let's get that carb apart and clean it up. Be right back. Alright, here's something a little interesting on this motor, on this tat2. I looked it up in the manuals, and the 25 through 35 use the same exact block. So what makes this as a 25 is that right there. It's just a spacer, a restrictor that restricts the amount of fuel going through the intake. So this is not my engine, so I'll put it back together with it, and then I'll just inform the owner that he can turn this into a 30 just by removing that. So I take it back, it's the 25 and 30 that share the same block, and it changes at the 35. So with just removing that restrictor plate and putting a regular gasket there, he could get 5 more horsepower out of this thing, but that'll be his call, not mine. But the carburetor is pretty uneventful. Right here you can see the size of the carb openings on this thing, so they're quite big, and that's what the restrictor plate does, is it restricts that so not as much can get through, reducing the horsepower. So with just putting a regular gasket over that and removing the restrictor plate, he'll get more horsepower. But it was pretty clean, but I went ahead and run it through the ultrasonic cleaner and blew it all out and everything. It should do better now. So let me get this thing back together and we'll start on the lower part. Be right back. Okay, we got the tat2 carburetor issue and all that done. She idles good now, so I'm gonna go ahead and start it. So now I'll get her up and we'll start on the lower. So I'm going to let that drain for a minute. Once it drains, I'll get back and we'll get that lower unit apart, change our impeller and lower unit gear oil. Right back. Okay, you can see I got the lower unit off the tat2. And it actually came off pretty hard. I was surprised. 2 of the bolts on this side closest to me, they came right out. But that forward bolt and the other 2 on the other side came out really hard. But that's no big deal. Point is, they came out. Alright, so I got the new impeller. I'll show you the old impeller. And well, I tell you, I find it hard to believe that it's 17 years old. I mean, but I'm just going on the fella's word. The owner told me that it hadn't been replaced since he bought the engine new 17 years ago. So I mean, there's no memory set in the fins. There's that plastic insert that like I said, I find it, rarely do I find one of those plastic ones delaminated or anything. To give you an idea, these are the new OEM impeller. And so the bottom is the old one. But where you at? I don't want it to be all blurry. The bottom's the old one, and the top, this one's the new one. Not a lot of difference there. But if it's been 17 years, it should be replaced. So that's what I'm going to do. I was just looking at the edges on the older one are a little bit wore, but nothing serious, that's for sure. Yeah, there's a little roundness, but anyway. So I'll show you how I do these water pumps. It's pretty straightforward, but right there's the key, and I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but there's a keyway right there. So I just put it down over there, line up that key, push it down, make sure it spins the drive shaft so I know that the key's locked in. So that key's locked in, you can see the drive shaft spinning. Okay. See if I can get it to where it'll... Oh, close. Alright. Get over here a little closer. Okay, so the new water pump impeller is on there. I've also placed this gasket here. The plate looked good. I just put a gasket and the impeller. Then I take a little soapy water, put on there. I don't use grease or anything in there. I just put that soapy water tube pick up to the rear, put it on there, and then take the drive shaft, spin it clockwise. That's it. She is there. Now, most manuals will tell you to put a little bit of sealer on these bolts and put them in. They'll you know, some kind of gasket sealer of some sort. The gasket sealer I use in my neck of the woods is called Never Sees. Because when these bolts came out of here, they were chalk salt white, just covered in salt. So I put a good douse of Never Sees on them. I've never had one come out too easy. I've never had one rattle out. I've never in my life found one laying inside a lower unit when I pulled it apart. So my gasket sealer is Never Sees, because in my neck of the woods, this engine will only see salt water. Ever. So, the next thing I'm going to do to it is drain the lower unit oil, put 2 new oil seals on the screws, and then I'll put it back together. And I do put some of the Never Sees up on top of the drive shaft. Don't ever put it up top, up on here. Just put it on the splines. Paint it up on those splines. That'll help it slip in. And the next time the person, whoever takes it apart, hopefully it'll slide right out of there. Won't have to be tapped on with a hammer or anything. So clean up the spines, a little bit on the shift link, a little bit around the water pickup tube to help that slide in the bolt holes, on the bolts. So in my area, we can't get enough of what's going to help a motor come apart, because the issue we have up in this neck of the woods, where our boating season is short and salt is a big issue, is not things coming apart by vibration or anything. It's trying to get things apart from all the salt corrosion. So there's the lower unit. I got to go out and get a drain pan and so forth so I can get this oil out of here. I'll be right back. All right, continuing on with the tat2. You can see there's the two drain and fill plugs. And I went to drain the lower unit, and you're looking at everything that came out and no more. That's it. And you can see it's almost pure water. The propeller's dinged up. And when I put it in forward gear, here's what I'm getting. Now I can turn the engine over, you know. So he didn't make any, the owner didn't make any mention of lower unit problems or anything. So maybe it just seems to me it should, but I guess not. I was thinking it shouldn't, but it catches going that way, so that would, I imagine, bring it on over this way. But he didn't make any mention, but he's got issues. There should have been more than that come out of there, and that's just pure water. So I'll put some oil in it and see if it leaks. His prop's all dinged up here, chunk missing out of there. So he may have seal problems. Like I said, he didn't mention anything about it. He said the only problem he was having with it was that it wouldn't idle, the electric starter wouldn't work, and that it just had never had no service in 17 years. So, and when I test ran the motor before I drained the lower unit, it seemed to shift just fine, go in and out of gear just fine. So here's the model number, serial number, and everything. It's a 2001 M2503372, serial number 61442. So it's a nice motor, but he may have some lower unit problems, some seals and stuff. We'll see. But let me get some oil in it. All right, here's something I do. Here's my oil pump jug. It's about all I've ever used. You can watch right in here and see the oil running out. So here's a little quick tip that I do. Okay, after I put the top screw in, the fill screw. Of course, when you pull out this bottom, some of the oil is going to drain out. I keep a blob of Vaseline right there, and as soon as I pull this out, I'll take this Vaseline and I plug the hole. You'll see what I mean. And this will let me kind of take my time. Won't much come out of there anyway, so it don't matter. It's just something I do. So then I put my bottom screw in, like so. All right, let me get my rag. All right, so that's how I do the lower unit oil. And hopefully you can see the oil running down here and some all up in here. You want to, when you're doing the gear oil, you want to slowly press on the lever, or if you've got a tube, keep squeezing it a little bit, let a little bit of air bubbles and bubbly oil run out of there until you get a, you know, a nice solid clear flow. And I can almost already tell this lower unit's got issues. Yeah, I believe his rear seal's gone and who knows what else. But like I said, he didn't mention anything about it having any lower unit problems. But that don't mean anything either. So I'm going to get her back in the tank and give her one more test run. And pretty much done with it until I talk to him, find out what he wants to do about that lower unit. If the gears and everything are still okay, and like I said, it does seem to go out in and out of gear just fine, but if he's got a leaky seal, who knows, maybe he drained it out. I don't know, but I doubt it. I believe it has issues with seals and so forth, but we'll let him decide whether he wants to spend the money. So let me get her back in the tank once more and we'll give her a final run. Be right back. Okay, here we have the tat2. That's everything I've done to it. Took off the carburetor, cleaned it up, lubricated everything. The starter wasn't working. That was a bad connection from the solenoid. Cleaned that up, rebolted it back on. Dropped the lower unit, put in a new impeller. Changed the lower unit oil, which it virtually didn't have any. So I believe it has seal issues. I'll talk to the owner about that when he comes to pick it up and see if he wants me to order some seals and get in there. But it seems to shift fine and everything, so I don't think the damage has been done yet. You can see she idles good now. Heaves water good. Moves a lot of water nice. There's neutral. There's reverse. So hopefully alrighty. So hopefully the owner will opt to have a reseal done on this tat2. I don't think there's anything really wrong with the lower unit. It seems to go in and out of gear just fine. I don't have a test prop for a tat2 25. So I'm at the point to where I can just go on his word, you know, ask him, are you having any kind of shifting problems, it jumping in and out of gear? And if he says no, I'll say, well, you probably got lucky because I think your seals are gone, and you need to get this thing resealed up. And if he don't want to do that, that's his call. So, but we got her all squared away as far as the way it runs and pumps water and so forth. It's a nice motor. I like it. So that's all on the tat2 25. So thanks for watching.